The Cultural Revolution, a deep dive into a transformative era in China. Welcome to our deep dive into the Cultural Revolution in China, a decade-long period of socio-political upheaval that lasted from 1966 to 1976. This transformative era was marked by radical shifts in society, culture, and ideology initiated by Mao Zedong, the founding father of the People's Republic of China. Join us as we explore the origins, key events, influential figures, impacts, and legacy of the Cultural Revolution. Historical context and origins. To understand the Cultural Revolution, we must first examine the historical context leading up to this turbulent era. By the 1960s, China was in a state of turmoil following the Great Leap Forward, a campaign initiated by Mao Zedong aimed at rapidly industrializing the country and improving agricultural production. The Great Leap Forward resulted in widespread famine and millions of deaths, leading to disillusionment among party members and the general population. Mao believed that the Communist Party needed to be revitalized to achieve true socialism. He was concerned that capitalist tendencies were creeping into Chinese society, particularly among intellectuals and party officials. In this context, Mao launched the Cultural Revolution as a way to reaffirm his control and reassert revolutionary ideology. The start of the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution officially began in May 1966, when Mao initiated the movement with the publication of the 16 Points, which called for the removal of bourgeois elements from society and the reaffirmation of revolutionary zeal. Mao called upon the youth of China to challenge the established order and promote revolutionary ideals. This led to the formation of the Red Guards, a mass paramilitary social movement primarily composed of students. The Red Guards were encouraged to criticize authority figures, including teachers, intellectuals, party officials, and even their own parents. In August 1966, Mao's influence soared as he rallied the Red Guards to travel throughout the country to launch a campaign against the Four Olds: old customs, old culture, old habits, and old ideas. This campaign aimed to eradicate the remnants of traditional Chinese culture and promote a new revolutionary culture. Key events of the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution was characterized by a series of key events and campaigns that had a profound impact on Chinese society. The criticism campaigns. The Red Guards targeted intellectuals, artists, and anyone perceived as a threat to Mao's vision. Many were publicly humiliated, subjected to violent struggles, and even killed. Schools and universities were closed, and education was disrupted. Destruction of cultural heritage. Under the guise of revolution, countless historical artifacts, temples, and artworks were destroyed. This cultural genocide not only aimed to erase China's imperial past, but also profoundly diminished its cultural heritage. The Down to the Countryside movement. In 1968, Mao suggested that educated youth should be sent to rural areas to learn from peasants. This movement aimed to re-educate the urban young and rid them of elitist attitudes. Many young people faced harsh conditions in the countryside, leading to further suffering. Factional strife. The Red Guards soon fragmented into competing factions, leading to violent clashes. In the chaos, the military was eventually called in to restore order. By 1969, the Red Guards were largely disbanded, but the turmoil continued. Key figures. Several influential figures emerged during the Cultural Revolution, each playing a significant role in its evolution and impact. Mao Zedong. As the leader of the Communist Party and the architect of the Cultural Revolution, Mao sought to reassert his ideological control and eliminate perceived threats within the party and society. Jiang Qing, Mao's wife, Jiang Qing was a prominent supporter of the Cultural Revolution. She played a key role in promoting revolutionary culture and was deeply involved in the arts and propaganda efforts during this time. Lin Biao, a key military leader and Mao's designated successor, Lin Biao supported the Cultural Revolution initially, but later fell out of favor. His sudden death in a plane crash in 1971 raised suspicions of political intrigue. Impact on society. The Cultural Revolution had profound impacts on Chinese society, some of which are still felt today. Social upheaval. The movement disrupted families, destroyed relationships, and led to widespread fear and paranoia. Intellectuals were persecuted, leading to a significant brain drain in the country as many were imprisoned or forced into exile. Changes in education. Traditional educational institutions were dismantled, and a generation of young people lost access to formal education. This led to long-term consequences for China's intellectual and cultural development. Economic consequences. The chaos of the Cultural Revolution hindered economic development and disrupted industries. Many agricultural and industrial projects suffered, leading to economic challenges that would take decades to recover from. Post-revolution attitudes. The legacy of the Cultural Revolution created a complicated relationship with authority, history, and tradition in China. Many people were traumatized by the experiences and were cautious of expressing dissent in the years that followed. The end of the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution began to lose momentum after the death of Zhou Enlai, the Premier of China, in 1976, and Mao's own death shortly thereafter. The political landscape shifted dramatically after Mao's death as new leaders sought to distance themselves from the turmoil of the past. In October 1976, the so-called Gang of Four, led by Jiang Qing, was arrested, marking the end of the Cultural Revolution. Following this, Deng Xiaoping emerged as a prominent leader and began implementing reform policies that would transform China's economy and society. Legacy of the Cultural Revolution. The legacy of the Cultural Revolution is complex and multifaceted. Historical reflection. The Cultural Revolution remains a sensitive topic in China, with the government often controlling discussions about it. It serves as a reminder of the dangers of mass mobilization and ideological extremes. Reform and opening up. The policies enacted during Deng Xiaoping's leadership signaled a departure from the radicalism of the Cultural Revolution. China began to adopt market-oriented reforms and opened up to the global economy, leading to significant economic growth. Cultural memory. The Cultural Revolution left scars on Chinese society, prompting discussions about cultural identity, historical memory, and the relationship between the past and present. Many survivors and their descendants reflect on the impact it had on their lives. In conclusion, the Cultural Revolution was a significant and tumultuous period in China's history that led to profound social, cultural, and political changes. Initiated by Mao Zedong, its aims of radical transformation ended in chaos and suffering, deeply impacting Chinese society. The legacies of the Cultural Revolution continue to shape China today, reminding us of the complexities of ideology, power, and cultural heritage. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the Cultural Revolution. We hope you gained deeper insights into this transformative era in history. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Until next time.